The Sabbath doesn't go into Sunday. The Sabbath has already been fulfilled. Jesus is our rest.
Okay. I did not grow up like this, but I have good friends that are messianic and, they believe, of course, since we're grafted into the branches, we're kind of held to, of course, we get God's promises from Old Testament, New, but also we have to hold like the Levitical law, and they kind of question me as to why sometimes I go to church on Sundays versus Saturdays. And I don't know sometimes quite how to answer them. I know general ideas on how to answer them, but I don't know.
So are you saying that they're saying that you have to obey the Old Testament law?
Yes.
Okay, here's my question. How can you obey the Old Testament law?
I think it's impossible.
Huh?
I think it's almost impossible.
It is literally impossible. Why? There's no temple. How can you obey? Well, there's no temple. How are you going to obey the Old Testament law?
Well, they say, I guess, until there is a temple again, but also as far as they feel that where does the Sabbath go into Sunday? And they question a lot.
Okay, good question there. First of all, the Sabbath doesn't go into Sunday. The Sabbath has already been fulfilled. Jesus is our rest. You see, out of the 10 commandments, 9 of them are repeated in the New Testament. The only one that isn't is keep holy the Sabbath. Why? Because the Sabbath represented rest, and Jesus is our rest. In fact, Paul even says in Colossians chapter 2, don't let anyone tell you have to obey any Sabbath or festival day. Why? Because our rest has arrived. We rest in the work of Jesus. And so the reason we meet on Sunday is because we're not transitioning or we're not transferring the Sabbath to Sunday. We're simply saying he rose on Sunday, so that's the day we're going to meet. Has nothing to do with the Sabbath.
Right.
All right.
Also, with regards to the promises, such as like Jeremiah 29, other prior ones in the Old Testament, they said, since we're grafted into the branches, we receive, even as like Gentiles, or how you would say, but, we receive those promises still. I don't know how to.
Yeah, I think we're grafted into the one olive tree that Paul talks about in the book of Romans. But that doesn't mean that a promise made to exiles who went to Babylon 2,600 years ago applies to them or us. That applies just to them who were there at the time. It doesn't apply to Jews today or Christians today.